Howdy.
So we decided to push the book off 1 week.
1 week.
1 week.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Nah, let's just go ahead and read it.
Yeah. So we're reading the new book tonight. Thumbnail's accurate. And before I welcome everybody in, Steve.
Yes.
I'm very proud to announce that I am Justin's favorite Cuban American.
That is amazing. You can tell by how tan you are.
I know.
Yeah, so that's great.
C.
What?
CC.
Oh, C. I'm sending you a picture. Remember the thumbnail I was just showing you for tomorrow?
Yes.
I had to redo it and make sure that I covered the cooler because of that.
Cool.
I just sent you the picture.
I haven't got it yet.
Oh.
I got. Oh yes. Yeah, you know.
that would have been a bad idea if I let that slip.
It's like a not so hidden Mickey.
Yes. Anyways, you guys will find out later.
Let's go up in the chat and we're going to get to the book. And
let's get to it.
Yeah. Welcome in Stacy Rogers, Nicole Happy's Haunts, Kenneth H., Fred O'Malley, Justin Sanudo, you devilish handsome man.
Yeah. Angelic.
Lauren Memphis. Let's see. Dear Debbie Bernfeld. Good evening, Debbie. scroll on down. Everybody's saying, hey, Debbie Thunert, welcome in. Jan S. Disney, hello. Good to see you. Got to keep scrolling. Corby Sinclair, welcome in. Theo Sam Eagle, hello. Hello. There's Corby. There's everybody's chit-chatting more. Jennifer Caruso, welcome. Samantha Lowe, hello, Sam. Jeff Condon, good evening, sir. And there she is. The lovely, the beautiful, the talented, the ever so sweet. My Snickerdoodle, the Daisy Duck to my Donald Duck, the Lois Lane to my Clark Kent, the Jasmine to my Aladdin, the Belle to my Beast. Angela Minter, hello, dear. Huh?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, see, it was a book. Yeah. Hello, dear. Let's see. We gotta keep scrolling now. Everybody's still talking. Robert Dixon, welcome in. Good to see you. Jennifer and Wendy B. Hey, welcome, Wendy. Good evening. Jay Grubbs, what's up? Good to see you. Jeep and Joy, hello, neighbor. Hope you're doing well. Tigger Jeff Sean W, welcome. Howdy. Good evening. Hope everybody's had a good Monday. No, Tuesday. Scratch that. Reverse it. Mike Eddie NYC, welcome in. Marguerite Nagy, hello. Good to see you. Chris S, welcome. Nathan, hello. Good evening. And we are caught up. Just like that.
Oh, are we?
Yep.
Oh. We're gonna read a lot tonight.
Yes. We've decided we're going to go aggressive.
At least tonight.
We'll see.
We'll see where the story takes us, whether we get interested or not.
We'll see how it goes from here.
It's the same. It's Liz Braswell, same author of the first two books. One was amazing. One was awful.
Yeah. Come on, open up the book.
There are 506 pages in this book, and we're going to read about 40 of them tonight.
Yeah.
So
there's a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. I feel like Liz can't decide how she wants to write a book because the first one had normal chapters.
It
was good. The last one had a bunch of interludes, no chapter numbers. And then this one got part 1, part 2, and part 3.
Keep in mind that along with that last one, those little interludes, some of them were like 10 words.
Yeah.
And meant nothing to the story whatsoever.
No.
Matter of fact, some of the things she added are what caused confusion and we could have done without.
True. Welcome in Jeanette Sebastian the Crab, who's at a camp meeting. Be there soon, I hope. Okay. Welcome in Abby Rebecca, hello, and Monterey Molly. Good evening, Molly. Hello.
Hola.
So yeah.
Happy pre-birthday.
Pre-birthday.
No, we're not gonna talk about it though. Not now. We just don't want to spoil it.
Right.
But it's somebody's pre-birthday.
Pre-birthday. It's like prep day for birthday.
It is. It's like it doesn't qualify as an unbirthday either because it's not quite an unbirthday when it's a pre-birthday.
Exactly.
You get pre-birthday, birthday, and post-birthday.
Right. And some people stretch that post-birthday out like
just post-birthday week
yeah,
and
exactly.
then birthday month. Hey, you know what? This is my birthday year.
Hey, okay.
All right.
Meg was talking about birthdays last night, Steve, and she was talking about how it's a milestone birthday for her this year, and she wants to go to Disneyland for her birthday. And I put in the chat, let's don't talk about milestone birthdays this year. I don't want to talk about that. So, yeah.
Isn't it crazy how she's turning 30?
Mm-hmm. She said last night she was turning 19.
She turned 19 again.
19 again.
For the 11th year.
Yeah. Ivy Rebecca says she started reading the Aladdin book, and straight away it's much better. I don't know what happened to the Sleeping Beauty one. Hopefully, exactly, Rebecca. We felt the same way. All right. So tonight we are starting out with Once Upon a Time.
Yep.
And the Beauty and the Beast version. I'm doing that, and then am I doing the second chapter too, Steve?
You're doing the
First
I think
three?
third as well. I think the first three, whatever the small ones are. I think it's the first, second, third.
Okay. So I'm doing the first three chapters. So here we go.
I'm doing the last two.
And then we're going to finish the book up next. No, we're not.
At this rate, it'll still take 10 to 11 weeks.
Yeah.
But we might pick it up after that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We got to see how this one treads. So here we go. As Old as Time, our new book, and Once Upon a Dream.
Do we? I think you meant sock puppets, but no, we don't.
Yeah, that would be, Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind.
Real quick, we should the tagline. The whole book is about.
Oh yes.
What if Belle? What if Belle's mother cursed the beast?
Exactly.
Sorry. Now carry on. Sorry.
And thank you, Kenneth, for dropping the link. That's where you can get the book. It's like $7.99 on Amazon if you don't have Kindle Unlimited.
Right? Carry on. Sorry.
Oh. But then one winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered him a single blood-red rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. Although she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for true beauty is found within. And when he dismissed her again, the old woman's ugliness melted away to reveal a beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late, for she had seen that there was no love in his heart. As punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. You have until the eve of your 21st birthday to become as beautiful on the inside as you were on the outside. If you do not learn to love another and be loved in return, by the time the last petal of this rose falls, you, your castle, and all within will be cursed and forgotten forever. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast concealed himself inside the castle with a magic mirror as his only window to the outside world. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope, for who could ever learn to love a beast? It was a very good story. It often entertained the woman who lay in her black hole of a room, manacled to a hard, cold bed. She had enjoyed its repetition in her mind for years. Sometimes she remembered bits differently. Sometimes the rose was as pink as the sunrise by the sea, but that never resonated as well as red as blood. And the part at the very end, where the enchantress is waylaid upon exiting the castle, thrown into a black carriage, and spirited into the night, well, it didn't sound as epic and grand. She never included it. Almost anyone else who had run out of thoughts by this point, almost anyone else would have given into the finality of the oubliette until she forgot herself entirely. A few of her thoughts were crazy, spinning around and around the dried tea kettle that was now the inside of her head. If she wasn't careful, they would become too speedy, break free, and seek escape through the cracks of her mind. But that way lay madness, and she wasn't quite there yet. 10 years, and she had almost forgotten herself, but not quite. Footsteps down the hall. She shut her eyes as tight as possible against the madness from without that tried to intrude upon her black personal madness. Chattering voices, another step of footsteps, the swish swish of a rank mop against the endlessly slimy floors, the clinks of keys. No need to do that one. It's empty. But it's locked. Why would it be locked if it's empty? She had to scream. She had to shake. She had to explode. Anything rather than let the dialogue repeat itself again as it had the last 4,000 days in only slightly different iterations. Oh, this one's locked. But do you hear something inside? The door's closed. You think it's locked? The one down here is locked, but I don't remember anyone being put down here. It was as if God were trying out all of the different possible lines in the murmurs farce that was her life and still hadn't gotten it quite right. The next 2 minutes were as predictable as the words from a parent to a child who knows she was misbehaved and chafes under the inevitability of the sentences hurled at her. Turn of the key in the lock, door creaking open. A hideous face, hideous only in its familiarity, the same look of surprise as always in every day since forever began. The face's owner carried a tray with her in the hand that didn't have the keys. Behind her in the hall stood the woman with the mop, and behind her stood a large and silent man who was ready to subdue any of the prisoners not tied down. The prisoner found herself opening her eyes. Curiosity had gotten the better of her survival instinct. Today's tray had 4 bowls of broth. Sometimes it was 5, sometimes it was 3, sometimes it was only 1. Lucky for you, I got an extra, the one with the tray said, settling herself down in a filthy tuffet of skirts and aprons. This line never changed, ever. The prisoner screamed, unable to contain herself, unable to keep herself from looking forward to that one thing each day, the thin gruel that passed for nourishment. The woman with the mop muttered indignantly, I didn't hear nothink about a new one. I can tell you that. Thought they were done a right good job clearing those sorts out of the world. Well, there's one now. There you go. Finish up now. The woman said it with the same false tenderness she expressed every time. The bowl tipped faster. Broth trickled down the sides of the prisoner's neck, and despite herself, she got desperate, straining against the chains and sticking her tongue out to get every last drop before the bowl was removed. This one is old enough to be a mother, the gruel woman said without a trace of emotion or sentiment. Think of that, them having children and raising them and all. Like animals, all of them. Animals raise their children too. I don't know why they keep them around. Kill them and be done with it. Oh, soon enough, no doubt, the broth hag said philosophically, getting up. They don't last long around here. Except, of course, it had been 10 years now. This time the hag didn't bother to toss some platitude over her shoulder as she left. The prisoner's existence was forgotten the moment she touched the door and was on her way out. It would be all new again for her and her horrible companion tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. The prisoner screamed one last time, finally and uncontrollably, as the darkness closed in. She had to start the story again. If she just started the story and played it through, everything would be right. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Before the beginning, chapter 2. Once upon a time, slightly longer ago than before, there was a kingdom whose name and very existence had long since been forgotten. While the rest of the world was fighting for control of new lands across the seas, inventing ever more deadly weapons, and generously gifting their own religion to foreign people who didn't want it, this kingdom just splendidly was. It had fertile croplands, dense hunting forests, a neat little hamlet, and the prettiest postcard castle anyone had ever seen. In happier years, because of its removed location in an out of the way valley, it was a lodestone for the artistic, the different, the clever, les charmantes. We're going to have French in this book. Yeah. They fled there as the modern world closed in on the rest of Europe. The little kingdom passed the Dark Ages and the Renaissance peacefully and uneventfully. Only now were the diseases of civilized man finally catching up. Even so, here there were still fortune tellers who could actually tell your fortune, farmers who could pull water from stone during a dry season, and performers who would really turn boys into doves, and sometimes back. The kingdom also drew those who didn't have powers, precisely, but their own unusual natural talents and quirks, those who felt comfortable among the other folk, misfits and dreamers, poets and musicians, nice oddballs, finding refuge there in a world that didn't want them. One was a young man named Maurice, the son of a tinker. He had both the will to wander and the skill to fix and invent. Unlike his father, however, he felt a change in the ancient air of Europe. Wonderful mechanical change. A future filled with weaving mills powered by steam, balloons that could carry people to far off lands, and stoves that could cook meals all by themselves. Determined to be a part of all of this, Maurice looked to both the past, the steam engines of Hero, and the present, desperately chatting up anyone who had a first hand account of the marvels he had read about. His longing took him all over, chasing down gears and pistons and demonstrations of science. But he realized that a life of wandering would get him nowhere. He needed some place he could sit and think for a while and tinker with really big things, machines that required huge fires and mighty smelters. Some place he could store all his junk. In short, he needed a home. Following his heart and rumors, he wound up in a corner of Europe that was just a bit out of sync with the rest of the world. First, he stopped at a tiny village on a river that was perfect for powering water wheels. But after observing the provincial little lives of the people there and enduring their horrified looks at his handcart filled with goggles and equipment and books, he realized that it was not the right place for him. He crossed the river and went on through the woods, winding up in a strange kingdom where it wasn't unusual for someone to be seen whispering to a black cat and the cat whispering back, or having a drink at a local pub still covered in silver soot from the day's work and wearing dark mica goggles, where he would fit in. Maurice immediately struck up a friendship with some local lads and ended up renting a place with one of them. Alaric, more into animals than machines, managed to get them a cheap room at the back of one of the stables where he hired himself out as a groomsman. While the lodging itself was tiny and reeked of horses, it did include access to a large common yard. Maurice immediately set about constructing a forge, kiln, and tinkering table. He happily betook any hard labor that would bring him closer to getting the right bits for his latest project. While he picked rocks out of fields or hauled sheaves of grain on his shoulders, his mind was far away, thinking about the tensile strength of different materials, the possibility of alloys, and how to achieve the perfectly cylindrical, smooth shape he needed for the next step. Old Maurice, head in the clouds, his fellow strong lads would say, clapping him on the shoulders, but it was always said with a smile and respect, the same way they called Josepha, the tavern maid, the Black Witch. Her punch was strong, and the shocks she could deliver with a snap of her fingers to irksome customers even stronger. At the end of summer, all of the able bodied young men were working in the fields, even Alaric, who preferred horses to the oats they ate. Sunburned with aching backs, they staggered into town every evening, throats parched but still singing. And of course, they made their way directly to Josephus. One night, while his friends piled into the tavern, Maurice hung back to dust himself off as best he could, and to get a better look at a bit of commotion occurring just outside. A giant and solid looking man stood with his legs spread aggressively and a dangerous look in his eye. This was interesting, but not as intriguing as what else was going on. Sticking her face into the man's was one of the most beautiful women Maurice had ever seen. She had the poise of a dancer and the body of a goddess. Her hair glowed golden in the sunset, but bright red spots of rage flushed her beautiful cheeks, and her eyes flashed green with indignation. She waved a slim water wand in the air for emphasis. Nothing is unnatural about us. Her words were perfectly formed and accented, and it was emotion that caused her to nearly spit. Anything God makes is natural, by definition, and we, all of us, are the children of God. You are the children of the devil, the man said calmly, lazily, like someone who knew he was going to win. Put here, put here as a test. You shall be wiped from the earth like the unnatural dragons of old, you mouthy hag, unless you are purified yourself. Purify, the girl actually spat at this time. I was baptized by the Monsignor himself, so that is at least one more bath than you've ever had, you son of a pig. The man made a movement, a very slight one, reaching to his waist. As good natured as Maurice was, he had traveled enough to know what that signaled: a knife, a pistol, a backhand across the face, something violent. He acted immediately, moving to run over and help her. But it was all over before he took a single step. There was a flash brighter than lightning, completely silent. Everything went stark white. After a few moments, Maurice could see again. The girl was storming off angrily, but the man still stood there. There was indeed a pistol in his hand that he had meant to use. It fell to his side, now forgotten. More pressing business occupied the man's attention. Where his nose had been, a there was now a bright pink spout. Son of a pig, Maurice repeated slowly, beginning to smile. Pig. He chuckled to himself and finally went into the tavern. He found Alaric and the usual gang, along with someone new, a thin, drawn looking young man who had folded his body over and brought his shoulders together like an insect, a very unhappy one. His clothes were dark and the expression on his face nervous and dour. In every way, the exact opposite of the fair haired and sunny groomsman. Maurice moved toward them slowly, still thinking about the incident outside. Not the flash or the light or the pig's nose, but the way the setting sun had gleamed on the girl's tresses. Alaric impatiently pulled him down into the seat between himself and the brooding fellow. Here, sit already. Have you met the doc yet? I don't think you have. Frederick Maurice. Maurice Frederick. Maurice nodded absently. He hoped he wasn't being rude. Without being asked, Josepha placed a tankard of cider down in front of him. Pleased to meet you, Frederick said crisply, if glumly. But I'm not a doctor. I'm telling you that. I keep telling you that. I was meant to be one once. What happened? Maurice asked, trying to remember his manners. Frederick, he noted, had a tiny glass of something expensive. He must have come from some learned professional background. My parents sent me away before I could complete my studies. They sent me to this lovely little place. They paid me off to come here. Frederick here has a talent, Alaric said meaningfully, tugging on the end of his cap. He can see the future. Oh, hey, Maurice asked, impressed. Not really, not always, only a little, Frederick protested, shaking his head. Just enough for my family to exile me here, to be with people like myself who would understand it or possibly remove it from or possibly remove it with more magic. I was in university. I was going to apprentice to a great surgeon. I was going to be a doctor. Alaric caught Maurice's eye above Frederick's head and made a face. I've been trying to get him to move in with us, the groomsman declared, taking a swig of beer and then wiping the foam one off in one easy, well practiced motion. I don't need to, Frederick said, but not. Frederick said, but not meanly. I have money and I don't wish to live with animals. Thank you very much. Also, I already have a bit of an additional income. The king and queen summoned me to attend to their royal infant. A cold, he added quickly. Nothing else wrong with him, and nothing I or a real doctor could fix. Ignoramuses. Anyway, they've hired me as their occasional consulting physician, and I do not require your charity. Thank you. Come on, don't you want to bunk with a couple of lads your age who can show you around rather than rent a room all by yourself at the top of some widow's drafty attic? Thank you for your concern, Frederick said again, not unkindly. It was more like he didn't know any way to be other than perfectly polite. But it felt a little strange hole in the conversation. Alaric, that girl, Maurice began, outside the tavern before, there was a beautiful girl with golden hair. She turned a man's nose into a pig snout. Oh, you must mean Rosalind. That's one. That one's a card, Alaric said, laughing. It's a bit excessive, Frederick said, making a sour face. That's the problem with witches. He was being very insulting, Maurice said, finding himself rising to the defense of the girl whose name he hadn't known a moment before. He was accusing her of being unnatural and saying that magic was impure. Alaric clicked his tongue. Ah, there's a lot of that these days, I'm afraid. Before you came, there was a terrible row. Two boys, a charmante and a normal one, like us, fought over a girl. It came to blows, and the charmante won, and the other boy died by magic. The palace guards were sent to break up everything, and there was a bit of a riot, accusations being flung back and forth. Some of the guards got caught in the crossfire with rather more permanent afflictions than pig snouts, which, knowing Rosalind, she will remove the next time she sees him. You can hardly blame the normal ones, like you, Frederick said with bitterness. Here these people are who have powers and can do things that you can't. There's no control over their behavior and nothing anyone, palace guards or people with muskets, can do about them. We, I suppose, need to be controlled or made less dangerous. It was two boys fighting over a girl, Alaric pointed out patiently. It happens all the time. Boys die over that sort of a thing in normal duels. This one just happened to involve magic. You can't get all worked up about it. At the very least, there must be unnatural things people should hide it rather than flaunt it. Besides, magic always comes back on itself. Everyone knows that. She should know that. Rosalind, I mean. Rosalind, Maurice said, trying the name out on his own tongue. Oh no, Alaric said with wide eyes. Maurice, say it isn't so. Not so soon in our relationship. Her hair, Maurice said thoughtfully. It's the exact color of the inside of my kiln when it's hot enough to melt iron. Oh, good. We're all safe then, Alaric said with a sigh, shouldering Frederick companionably. With times like that, we don't with lines like that, we don't need to worry about coming home to find a ribbon on the door and being forced to find another place to stay the night. I have said I am not rooming with you, Frederick repeated patiently, but Maurice was no longer listening. Chapter 3. The girl is strange, no question. Oh. Belle always forgot to take the hidden path to Levi's bookstore. Either she was reading or dreaming or singing to herself or just genuinely interested in what the world was like outside her house and the quiet life she and her father led. So she always wound up on the route directly through the village and therefore talking to and being talked about by the villagers. And if she was honest, she might have done it a little on purpose. It was pleasant but lonely on their tiny farm. Belle was always eager to start conversations and always disappointed by how they ended the same way every time. That's nice, Belle. Buy a roll, Belle. Thanks for going. Think it's going to rain, Belle. Why don't you stop reading and fix your hair? Isn't it? Isn't my baby beautiful, Belle? She's just like the other six. Have you said yes to Gaston yet? She wished just once someone would show an interest in the same thing she did. But that just wasn't possible in the tiny village with the same 100 or so people who had always lived there and always would. Today at least everyone was a bit more subdued and there seemed to be fewer villagers milling about gossiping. Maybe someone's batch of cider was finally ready, or some cow had given birth to a calf with two tails. No, even that would be too exciting to happen in this place. She sighed and stepped into the bookstore, fixing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Good morning, Monsignor Levi. Good morning, Belle, the old man said brightly. He always had a kind smile for her and always glad to see her, no matter how many times she visited. How is your father doing? Oh, he's putting the last touches on a steam powered log chopper for the fair, she said, spinning daintily on her toes to look around the shelves. Her brown ponytail lifted behind her, and for a moment she almost felt like a child. Wonderful, Levi said, his mouth breaking into a big toothy grin. He's a man who deserves a prize or some recognition of his genius. You're the only person here who thinks so, Bill said with a sad smile. Everyone else thinks he's crazy or wasting his time. Everyone, everyone thought I was crazy for opening a bookstore here, of all places, Levi said with a smile, pushing his spectacles up his nose and looking at her over them. But it's certainly quiet without so many customers. I can get quite a lot of reading done. Belle gave him a smile back, a half sarcastic one that she was famous or infamous for. Speaking of reading, nothing new this week, I'm afraid, he said with a sigh. Unless you'd like to read one of those religious pamphlets that Madame de Fanatique ordered. Are they philosophical? She asked, desperate for anything. Like responses to Voltaire or Diderot? I wouldn't mind reading opposing views. Oh no, they're the usual sort. Not even songs or hymns. Really fairly boring. I always have some rather morbid treasures for Monsignor de Arcu to pick up and take back to the asylum, he said, mouth pinched in extreme distaste. But I'm afraid I can't let you even touch those. He's very particular. Belle sighed. All right, I guess I'll just borrow one of the old ones, maybe. Feel free, Levi said with a smile, indicating his whole shop. Any book. She would have to make it a good one. Life would be even sleepier and quieter with her father gone. She saw nothing between now and his return other than bright, cold autumn days, feeding the livestock, and the occasional disappointing long walk to the village. Bill needed something fantastic, something exciting to last her until her papa got back or until life finally began to happen.
Happily Ever After, short book. Whether by chance or not, Maurice began to see the pretty girl with the blonde hair everywhere, attending to magical fixes of ordinary things for farmers and shopkeepers, distributing bespelled roses to cure this and that ailment, laughing with friends, spending time at the tavern chatting with Josepha, or more likely reading a book by herself. He always managed to pick her out of the crowd, though she didn't always have blonde hair, or green eyes, or that height, or that color skin. It was bewitching. But even more marvelous than that was the way she would chat with other boys, then turn away. Maurice was stunned that they didn't run after her. His friends began to call him Moon Eyed. Frederick pestered him with it to find a nice, normal girl instead, one without powers. Alaric, on the other hand, encouraged him to actually go up and talk to her, to introduce himself, to let her know that he existed. But as it turned out, Maurice didn't have to. One day he went to the tavern early by himself, bringing in little pieces of metal he had been working on to fiddle with as he sat there. At first glance, they looked like a forged nail bar puzzle a country gentleman might play while having a drink, but the pieces were much stranger looking. A tiny bit of tarnished copper pipe and a dull gray metal blob he was trying to fit it into. He was still staring owlishly at the smallest end of the blob when he was suddenly aware of someone sitting down in the chair next to him, adjusting her voluminous skirts to fit the space. You know, you need to speak to the metal. He looked up at the vision next to him and blinked. The girl with the green eyes and the blonde hair regarded him calmly, a little smile on her face and a book half closed in her hand. The normal thing to do at this point would have been to offer to buy her a drink, to tell her how he had seen her around town, or even to gibber nervously about how pretty she was and question why she was sitting next to him. But she was talking about the metal. Speak to it, he asked. What do you mean? Ask it what it needs to do what you want it to do. At least that's what a friend of mine who knows about such things says. Well, I've tried everything else, he said with a sigh. He held up the little ugly bits of metal and cleared his throat. Hello, metal. What do I need to do to get you to work? The woman laughed, a throaty, honey sound that wasn't mean in the slightest. Maurice found himself chuckling as well. Even the grumpy bartender managed to smile. The girl pushed a straight golden lock of hair out of her face and closed her book all the way, setting it beside her. Not like that, I don't think. At least not in our language. You need to know the language of metal. I'm Rosalind, by the way, she said. She held out her hand. Enchanté, Maurice said frankly, not bothering to pretend he didn't know it already, that he whispered it at night sometimes just to see how it felt. He took her hand and kissed it. Not my name, of course. Maurice is my name. I've seen you around, she said, indicating the world outside the tavern with the tip of her alder wand. No matter what you're doing, pulling turnips, laying stones, digging, you're always thinking about something else, your metal. You're always carrying bits of it, and you're always covered in soot of a blacksmith. Whatever are you doing? I am trying to develop a useful steam engine, Maurice said, clapping the metal bits down on the bar on each syllable for emphasis. The problem is that thus far, it's all about someone opening valves and closing valves and drawing up water. They're trying to use them to drain mines over in England and Scotland. A lot of water problems they have over there, but it could do so much more. Instead of pushing and pulling water, You could push and pull a piston, and then, of course, there you are. Of course, the woman said with another smile. There we are. Maurice stared at her for a moment, trying to figure out if she was making fun of him. Then he laughed self-deprecatingly. I don't speak as well as the pictures in my head do. I can't fully the possibilities. It's too much to explain all at once. It would be world changing. Ah, the woman said, like gunpowder. No, not like gunpowder. This would be for the building and making, not killing and conquering. Not all gunpowder is for killing. I have a friend who makes the most amazing fireworks, and who, a little like you, spends all her spare time trying to launch things higher and higher into the air using gunpowder, and a thing like a cannon aimed at the sky. You have a lot of interesting friends, it seems, Maurice said sighingly. I wish I could meet them. I'm not sure I would like that, the girl said thoughtfully. If I introduced you to my friends, you would spend all your time talking to them and not me. Maurice stared at her for a long moment, trying to decide if what he thought she meant by that was what she actually meant by that. And with a smile, it became apparent that she did. With a feeling of unreality approaching straight up wonder, Maurice began to court Rosalind. Or perhaps it was the other way around. It didn't matter, and he certainly didn't care. He took her to a festival dance and offered her a rose he had painstakingly hammered out of metal. She graciously pinned it to the bodice of her dress, which honestly was pulled down almost indecently by its weight. Then Rosalind took him to see her roses, a delightful garden hidden by magic inside a little park filled with perfectly healthy, perfectly formed roses in every shade of pink and red, and a few colors Maurice wasn't sure he'd ever even seen before on any flower. She often grew bored with her own appearance, he discovered, which was why her looks and outfits seemed to change of their own accord so frequently. So if she was helping Maurice with something dangerous, hot and sticky in his kiln yard, when they emerged to take a stroll around town, her apron and old skirts would disappear, and she would appear attired in the robes of a fashionable lady wearing the latest styles from Paris, but one with purple skin. Maurice never caught the transformation as it happened. It was always done by the time he noticed. Her powers weren't limited to roses and fashions and pig snouts, however. When the freshwater springs of the western side of town went sour in late summer, a delegation from the town came to her for a solution. Just like Maurice spent weeks on end with his kiln and his metal tools, she pored over kin and metals and tools. She pored over ancient texts day and night, mumbling to herself and waving her wand in what looked like the same pattern again and again. And in the same way Maurice wrote to great scientists and inventors around the world, she spoke with timid creatures who looked like water themselves and sought out ancient, powerful crones for advice. It all culminated with what looked like a simple, quick enchantment that made the water sweet once again. Everyone cheered, but few understood the amount of time and effort that had gone into those few minutes of chanting. But it wasn't all work and inventing. Some nights Maurice spent carousing with Alaric and Frederick, and Rosalind with Adelise and Bernard, when science and magic were forgotten and drinking and laughing were the subjects of the night. So the two lovers spent long afternoons in each other's company or tending to their own pursuits, and long evenings in each other's arms surrounded by the heady perfume of roses. And then came the day that Maurice witnessed the two young men dragging a teenage boy into an alley. It was in a quiet part of town, and they were trying to do it furtively, but not having much success as he kicked and screamed. "Stop, right where you are. Put him down," the inventor shouted. "What is all this now?" "None of your business," one of the men snapped. "Do yourself a favor and pretend you never saw this." "He's one of those charmantes," the other one said heavily, as if everyone would understand what was going on just by hearing the word. "So, since when is that a crime?" Maurice asked, both angry and mystified. "It has always been a crime against nature, as you should already know if you're natural, uncorrupted by evil." Maurice put down the shaft of the cart he was pulling, making it clear he was ready for fight. His clothes, though dirty, did a nice job of highlighting his thick upper arms. What kind of novel did this turn into? His clothes, though dirty, and did a nice job of highlighting his thick upper arms and solid legs. Plus there was the long knife. Hang on a minute. I got a drink. Okay. Plus there was the long knife, and he kept on his belt, as all laborers did. He twitched his thumb at it. The thugs tried to look defiant. It didn't really work. I suggest you run along, Maurice growled. Now, before I call the guards or teach you a lesson myself. Friends of those who consort with the devil are as cursed as the devil himself, one spat. You will get yours too. They stalked off, and Maurice sighed deeply. He turned to the now freed prisoner. You all right, boy? I am for now. He didn't say it with ingratitude. It was more like wry irony. Maurice could see as the teen stretched and shook out his bruised body, the high cheekbones, pearly skin, and delicate jaw that made him look different. They will come after me again when no one is around to save me. I suppose I will have to run away for good. The inventor ground his teeth, frustrated. And the palace guards are just letting this sort of thing happen to citizens? In answer, the boy tossed his chin, pointing across the way. There, lolling in the shadows like they were unemployed, stood a pair of castle guards who had been watching the whole thing. They gave Maurice twin looks of distrust and disgust. Something must be done about this, the inventor began to say, turning back to the boy. He had disappeared, but Rosalind was there, suddenly running forward and throwing her arms around him. I saw the whole thing. Marry me, she said. What? Yes, what? Maurice said. You are the best, kindest, bravest, nicest man I have ever met. I want to make sure you can't ever leave me by oath. Well, of course, I was planning to ask you, miss, but his words were cut off by a passionate kiss. He only pulled back once to ask the one thing that bothered him. You weren't the boy there being beaten up, were you? You weren't testing me, were you? Don't be absurd. I came looking for you, using a find friend spell. I need you and the cart to haul back some rather big packages for me. Oh, besides, those two hooligans would have been blind, finless fish if they had tried to attack me. Now shut up and kiss me, she added, planting her lips firmly on his again. And so they were married. The wedding might have been hidden both by its secret location and protective spells. The attendees might have been a trifle strange, tiny men who had advice from Maurice on workings of metal, long-eared girls with hooves for feet who stamped impatiently for the priest to finish, bespectacled librarians and students, and the heavy-drinking young men Maurice still hung out with. But the party afterwards was as enthusiastic as any the kingdom had ever seen, except perhaps for Frederick, who was not enthusiastic and spent the whole night looking uncomfortable and sour about the presence of so many charmantes. But besides his general grumpiness, there was only one real mishap the whole night. A wild boar, enticed by the smell of food, managed to work its way in from the woods and root through quite a bit of the magical rose garden before the drunken guests could contain it. That's an odd thing to happen, Maurice commented. Magic, a tipsy fawn said, pushing her finger up on her nose to make a snout, always comes back on itself. Maurice then remembered the man whose nose Rosalind had changed. His new wife was swearing roundly at the pig in her garden now, but not used any magic to shoo it away, he noticed. Wait, that's not him, is it? Maurice asked, alarmed. No, the girl giggled. It's a pig, but it's a pig, but all the same. Everything comes back on itself again. Love, hate, magic, pig noses. Show it works. This is weird writing.
How it's worked.
That seems reasonable, said Maurice thoughtfully, who might have also been a little more in his cups than he appeared at first. What a wonderful place this is, and what an amazing woman I've married, he thought. And what a magnificent wedding, pigs and all. Always the bridesmaid. Looks like we're going back and forth between chapters.
Yes.
Constantly so far. Yeah. Belle stomped off over the hill, wanting to run, waiting to maintain her dignity, not managing either. She kept up a strange, fast march in too precise a straight line that neither got her away from everything fast enough, nor let her appear to be unaffected by it. Behind her, on the lawn by the side of the house, was a wedding party. Her wedding party. It was beautiful, she had to admit it. There was a very tasteful canopy woven with sweet-smelling flowers, paper bells, and pink ribbons festooned in a high arch. Tables were draped with shining white cloths and a pink bunting and spread of an array of savory delicacies. Silver buckets held bottles of chilled champagne, perfect little beads of moisture covering their gleaming sides like pearls, like a painting. There was a band, which was actually kind of terrible but enthusiastic. There was an absolutely amazing-looking cake. The only thing Belle was really sad to leave behind. It had 3 tiers, and its white and pink fondant perfectly matched everything else. Crowning the top was a tiny wedding couple, which she would have tossed aside unexamined in her haste to get to the cake underneath. Monsieur Boulanger, Boulanger,
Boulanger.
we get some French names. Monsieur Boulanger might have been irksome in person, but his skills as a baker were definitely in top form that day. There was also a disappointed would-be groom sitting splay-legged in a pig wallow. She hadn't meant to push him that hard. By having done so, she wasn't precisely displeased with the results. The noise behind her was terrific. The squeaking of the blonde triplets, the squonkings of the tuba and accordion, which now had no purpose, the not quite sotto voce assurances of LeFou to Gaston, the apologetic titterings of the priest. The priest. For some reason, his presence upset Belle the most. She could almost dismiss the ridiculous band, the cake, the table, and everything else as all the accoutrements of a love-smitten madman, but a priest meant Gaston was deadly serious. He had every intention of, till death do they part, marrying her. Amor does not vincit omnia, you ignorant man, Belle muttered, when the woman doesn't amat you back. She took a quick, undignified step aside to hide behind a scrub oak, then peeped out from behind it. Her heart sank. Besides the main characters in the wedding party, it looked like all the rest of the town had shown up to bear witness to Gaston's triumphant day. There was a silversmith, Monsieur Leclerc, Monsieur Hebert, the wigmaker and haberdasher, Madame Baudette, the courtier, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Everyone was there. Everyone except for Monsieur Levi. His absence was extremely notable. He knew the kind of boy she would eventually marry if she married, and it certainly wasn't Gaston. Absent also was her father, of course, who was on his way to the fair, and her mother, but Belle hadn't seen her since she was a baby, so that part wasn't really so surprising. Drifts of conversation came to her as the breeze shifted. Terrible, but is it really surprising that girl isn't right in the head? Turning down Gaston, the most handsome, eligible bachelor in town? Stupid hussy. I give my right pinky to wear his ring. Who does she think she is? Does she think she can do better? Maybe she'll try Dupuy's son instead. You know, the simple one who counts pebbles all day. More to her taste. Belle balled up her fist and threw herself against the tree trunk in rage. None of them thought she was good enough for Gaston, the town's favorite son, the most handsome boy with the bluest eyes, the best physique, the best shot with a gun. No one ever asked if he was good enough for her. That was just the way the townspeople were. On the other hand, they did nothing, had done nothing, but gossip endlessly about Belle and her father. How odd they were, how odd she was, always reading, no friends, no suitors. How Maurice rarely came to the pub for a drink, how he didn't have a respectable trade, how his wife had disappeared, how some whispered he consorted with the devil down in his basement. Her father had finally put an end to that rumor by inviting a select few to come by and inspect his house for evidence of demonic shenanigans. They had been carefully chosen. Monsieur Leclerc, who knew a bit about technology and metal, and Madame Boussard, the town gossip, sure to spread the news of what she had seen. What they saw were the half-built contraptions of engines and someone they immediately assumed was a madman. Later, Belle wasn't sure if she preferred the fear the villagers exhibited before his experiment or the pity and ridicule after. But on the other hand, there was Gaston, who, despite Belle's strangeness, came after her with the relentlessness of a crazed hunting dog after a boar. It wasn't that he overlooked the oddity of the father and daughter. It was more like it was irrelevant compared to Belle's status as prettier girl in town. Plus, he felt he could fix her, make her normal. His overwhelmingly masculinity and presence would exercise her desire to read and think and be alone. Was there a tiny part of Belle just a little bit tickled to be the center of attention of such a handsome boy, the town favorite? Of course, yes. That cake looked like a Boulanger had spent a long time on it. But she would trade it all in immediately for being left alone, for being treated by Gaston the same way the rest of the town treated her. The crowd looked so tiny from up where she was. Belle backed away from the tree, watching the wedding party grow even smaller. In the strange honey-like softening of the afternoon sunlight, the scene looked both more brilliant and less real, like a miniature painting. She held up her thumb and managed to block out everything with its tip, erasing everyone from the landscape. It was like what she had it was like what she did when she read. As soon as she opened a book, this little town disappeared into a vast map of countries, both real and imagined. The people down below, cleaning up from the non-wedding and erased by her thumb tip, didn't think anything interesting or important lay beyond the next bend in the river. They had no curiosity about the new lands beyond the sea or the ancient lands to the east. They had no regard for the recent discovery that other planets and moons, just like the one that smiled down at them. Belle wanted more. She wanted to see more. She wanted to travel to the lands she had read about, where people ate with delicate sticks, not forks. And at the very least, she wanted to be carried there in her imagination. Belle lowered her thumb, and the townspeople reappeared. She plopped herself down on the grass, defeated. The truth was, reading wasn't enough anymore. It wasn't enough to catch a glimpse of these lands and ideas through small window of pages she turned. She wanted to step through and feel the yellow waters of the Yangtze. I can never say this word. Yangtze. It's a river. Herself. To hear the celestial body of the foreign pipes, to taste the foods described by adventurers who traveled purposefully into the areas of the maps labeled "Here, There, Be Tigris." Looking to the west, where the late afternoon was drawing to a dark close, she didn't see the endless landscape that often set her dreaming. Instead, she saw a thick black clouds that stretched to the heights of the sky, roiling and boiling with wind and winking with lightning. Fine. It suited her mood. She clenched her fist unconsciously, wishing she could bring the storm faster, like a wizard or enchantress in one of her books. She wished she could stand on top of the hill in the midst of the winds and the thunder, untouched, alone, as all the would-be wedding guests fled for the safety of their homes. And then she remembered her father, who was somewhere out on the road heading to the fair. Guiltily, she unclenched her fist and forced her shoulders to relax, as if she really did have some control over the weather. She rolled over onto her stomach and scanned the road as best she could, but either he was already too far into the forest or the dust in the air had obscured him and Philippe and the cart. She sighed and desultorily picked a dandelion under a protective tarp on the cart that was her father's masterpiece, his finest invention. When fueled up and working properly, it could split a pile of logs in half the time it took two men. An amazing achievement, sure to win a prize. Belle puckered her lips and blew on the dandelion. Either you could see how many feathery seed pods were left stuck to the head and pretend it was that o'clock, or you could make a wish. She chose the latter. If Maurice won the prize, and if it were the big one, then maybe she could convince him to move to a bigger city. Maybe even the one that he sometimes talked about, where they had lived when she was a baby. There her father could spend all of his time inventing, not trying to eke out a living for himself and his daughter among country folk who thought he was mad. And then Belle could have all the books she wanted, and no one would look at her as being odd, not in a city full of odd people. Or maybe some rich member of nobility would see his invention for the genius it truly was and sponsor him, take him and Belle away like a fairy godmother and whisk them into a world of academics, science, and people just like them. They would be part of all the exciting things this century promised, far away from this provincial town and its stupid ambush weddings. She was glad her papa wasn't around to see that. He would have gotten angry the way she had. He would have been merely very, very confused. It wouldn't have helped things. She rested her head on her hands, watching the wedding party quickly disperse as the winds picked up. LeFou tried to grab a bunting as it whipped around branches and chairs like an eel. The villagers would all be gone in a few minutes, but she wished she could head down sooner, somehow sneak around them to the inside when the storm finally hit. Maybe she could try to going down to the east side of the house through the rose garden. She sighed, turned to look at the pretty pink and white dots that modeled the scenery just out of view of the wedding party. They were the main reason her father was reluctant to leave her little house in the country. Part of him still believed there was a chance that someday his wife would come back to her roses and her husband and her daughter. If only he just kept tending the bushes and keeping the flowers pretty and healthy, maybe she would have been tempted to return. If they left, how would she find them? But despite the automatic watering contraption Maurice had built for the garden, the roses that were usually so healthy, blooming even in the deepest winter, were beginning to look a little brown and peaked. Belle grumpily got up. She barely remembered her mother. She had the best father in the world. That was all that she needed. She took one last look at the horizon, bidding the storm and lands beyond farewell, when she saw a strange commotion on the road. It was Philippe galloping out of control toward her house, still attached to the cart, and her father wasn't on it. Dun, dun, dun. So overall, it's the same story so far, with a little twist, except for when they go back and do the past.
The past, Maurice's past.
Maurice's past. So, yeah, Boulanger. I mean, there were some names in that chapter for sure. In your chapter too.
Yeah.
We had some long, and then I can never say that river. It's like the Yangtze or something, whatever it is. Anyways, there's a lot going on there. But this one is a million times better than the last one already.
I'm liking it. Yeah,
at least I don't even care that we keep going back and forth because at least we know past, present. So
it's layering the story in.
Yes.
So, I think it's trying to give us the backstory so that when we get to the twist in the present, we'll know the history. So,
and the fact it's also foreshadowing that we might actually, they're hoping she comes back to them. So maybe the mother comes back. We don't know.
Debbie says she's really liking it so far. I am too. This one's trending good so far.
Well, I mean, we could only go up from the last one.
That's true. That's true.
Give it time.
We did a lot of reading tonight, but we both really wanted to do that to kind of get into it, to get a feel for this book in the beginning. So,
well, and if it's one we actually like, then we'll stick with it,
especially after the last one. So, so yeah, I like it. It was interesting to hear her going into town, and the scene from the movie kept playing in my head reading that. So
it works out to so if we both read 2 chapters next week, it'll be a little bit more than we read today.
Okay.
And it'll put us about 20% of the way through the book. It'd be page 100. So we probably could try to tackle 2 chapters each next week.
Sounds good. So we'll pick up at A Kingdom Sours next week.
Stacy, I'm respectfully going to disagree. It was just garbage. So, I don't think this is the 3rd book written in the 3rd different style that she's done so far. I don't know. I liked when there's like Inception trying to follow a different story. That was just garbage. There was a lot of nonsense that did not need to be there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyways, this one, way better.
It didn't have a cohesive feel to it. I mean, even if you're trying to exaggerate it because of the dream world.
Even when we figured out what was going on, it was like, it was like she wrote the book and there was only 100 pages. So now she had to fill the other 300 pages with descriptive things that meant nothing to the story.
Right.
So we'll see. She's only done 5 of the 20 books, and this is the 3rd one, and she does the 5th one too. So if we don't like her, she'll be out of our hair soon. But she did 7 of the books.
But she did a great job on Aladdin. So
she did a great job on Aladdin, and this one's starting off okay. She also does Tangled, which is my favorite. So that's going to be, she better not kill that one. She does The Little Mermaid and a couple more. But I think she had 7 of the 20 books. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Dreams can be confusing. I get it, Stacey.
Oh. Now what?
Weedy B says if this one sucks, dump her.
Yeah, well, we got to read them all. Maybe she has one gem that's actually decent, besides Aladdin. So. I'm excited because the next book, I've been told, it's Mulan, I think, is very dark. And but it's by a different author. So, but I've been told it's very good as well. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And I'm not a huge Mulan movie fan.
Me either.
But I'm hoping if it is darker, I got a feeling I'll like it. I hope.
Look, it's about Mulan is down there with Sleeping Beauty for me. It's one of the worst, in my opinion, one of the worst Disney movies. Both of them are. I don't know. It's just.
The kids love that song, "Make a Man Out of You."
Well, the music, some of the music's decent. Like I like that song as well, but I'm just not a fan. It's even when I see like the artwork and stuff, I just and what's really bad is Maleficent might be one of the best villains of everything, and I think it's lost in that story. I mean, she did her job,
Yeah.
But man, she does so much. Like when they did her own standalone movies and everything, so much better than just regular Sleeping Beauty. So I don't know.
Yep. So yeah, I'm glad we moved past Sleeping Beauty.
Me too. It was rough.
I'm thinking maybe it's a good thing we got it out of the way early.
But this is actually starting out almost identical to the way Aladdin started out. Remember when you started reading, you read the narration from the beginning of the movie. I mean, it was almost exactly word for word, exactly how the movie starts out, the cartoon movie. Actually, in the live action, because they were pretty much carbon copies. But at the beginning of it. And that's the way Aladdin started out.
Yeah. The beginning of this movie, if I remember right, is like some of the other classic Disney princesses where it starts out like a book opening up and it telling the tale.
Yeah, but that narration was almost word for word
narration
started out with. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to see. I think we're going back to the way she did the first one. Better tell the actual story and just change what you need to change.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, yep. That was. I'm looking forward to this one. I think so.
Well, so far. There's a lot of pages for her to ruin it again.
We got a long way to go.
But as long as she stays the course, she can redeem herself.
My thing says we're on page 44 of like 500. So
yeah, mine says 506. I think we've done 43 of them. So yeah, 44 would be next. Now that doesn't always mean there's also 506 pages, because the first book said that, and it had all those extra couple from the next chapter. But it does say that we're about 9% of the way through. After next week, we should be about 20% of the way through. So that'd be a pretty decent start. And I think after next week, we'll have a much better idea of the direction she's going and whether or not we're going to want to follow that journey.
Yeah.
Sorry, whether or not we're going to want to willingly follow that journey or forcefully follow that journey. So.
That too. Changing course for a moment, Steve. They came out with a trailer for the new 48 Hours Axel Foley movie.
The new what?
Axel Foley starring Eddie Murphy.
Axel Foley.
Yeah,
that's
you
the
remember
name of the show?
No, the movies. Oh god, was it? It wasn't 48 Hours, was it? It was the cop movie he was in back in the day.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop. Thank you. Yes, Beverly Hills Cop. They've come back to do Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Is the name of the movie.
Oh,
and
he's starring in it. Then
he's starring in it.
Well, that's interesting.
It's coming to theaters, but I think it's a Netflix production actually, so it'll be back on Netflix.
Oh,
so. The trailer looked pretty decent. Tomorrow, the Moana 2 trailer drops. Nice.
Yeah.
Know that. So yeah, I saw that. There was a another trailer for another movie. It seems like I watched. But I heard, I watched a review for and I don't know if you're interested in this or not, but for the new Mad Max
Yes.
Furiosa movie.
I like Mad Max and I love Tom Hardy. So
I heard this one was really good.
This one's Liam Hemsworth, isn't it?
It is Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth, Thor. So
and Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yep.
Furiosa.
From what else was she in?
She's been in several things. She was in New Mutants. She was in
there's one
though witched movie.
The what?
Some witched movie.
Hang on a minute.
Something.
She's in something really.
But I heard really good reviews for this, but it opened to a terrible box office. So
really,
yeah, Tom Hardy is not in this one.
No,
set as a prequel.
But I thought Chris Hemsworth would have done a great job.
Yes, they said that he did do amazing in the movie, and that she does as well. So
she's in Peaky Blinders.
Yep. But yeah, and I also heard that Fall Guy like bombed at the theater, but it supposedly was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, Fall Guy was amazing.
But it didn't fare well at the
really.
Theater, so
when I went to watch it, it was weeks after it came out, and it was still a packed theater.
Was it?
Now it's just one theater across the country, you know.
Right.
So
yeah. So Dune 2 is on Max now.
Saw that.
Still haven't watched the first one yet.
Yeah, Fall Guys got an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 91% on Google liked the movie.
I don't know if people just aren't going to the theaters or
made
what.
$145.5 million.
Kenneth H. said he watched Fall Guy. It gets an eh. Jan S. watched it twice and liked it. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Fall Guy. Had a great story. It's got a great story. I'm guessing this movie cost them a lot of money to make. Maybe that's why it's considered a fail, because there's a lot of action stuff in this movie.
Corby says, I liked Fall Guy, waiting on House of Dragon season 2, and of course the second half of Bridgerton.
Wait,
I was excited.
The second half of Bridgerton, like the new season came out?
Yes, it's coming. So I haven't watched that. You like it too, Steve?
I love Bridgerton. It's got 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I've seen the first 2 seasons. I don't think I've seen season 3. Is half of the season out now? It is.
I don't know.
It just came out. May 16th was episode 3. Or of season 3, episode 4. Okay. May 16th. So just less than 2 weeks ago, the first half of season 3 came out. The next half comes out June 13th. So we don't have to wait that long.
Got a couple more trailers for Twisters coming out.
I don't remember what happened in the last one.
Good night, Kenneth H.
Night, Kenneth. I binge watched every episode of the first 2 seasons of Bridgerton. I was like hooked.
Really?
I was kind of upset though, because some of the main characters disappeared. I don't know if they left the show or not, and I'm hoping they come back, but we'll find out. And I got to go back and I remember something that happened now. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't tell you because you're going to watch it. You need to watch it.
Right.
Is that
Um,
Netflix, by the way?
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay.
Um, Bad Boys Ride or Die is coming out in
Yeah.
a couple weeks. They are re-releasing The Lord of the Rings.
What anniversary is it?
I don't know, but all three of the movies are being re-released June the 8th.
For how long?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
My point is, do I need to see all three of them in one day?
You may have to. Let me see if I can find more info.
Because I've not seen that yet.
Now, this is the original Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers.
Yeah.
And
that's like 9 hours, though. So, like, if they're only out for like a day, you have to watch,
I'm just on Rotten Tomatoes, and it says it's all three re-releasing the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th.
Oh, so it must be one day, one the next day.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You could go to the theater and stream Return of the King on Monday night.
You could what?
I said you could go to the theater on Monday night for your Monday night stream and stream Return of the King, the last one.
The King has returned. That's the wrong movie. That's the Lion King.
That's the Lion King. Dreamer Deborah, hello. Good to see you. Did Steve also watch Queen Charlotte?
No, and nor The Regime nor The Crown.
Really?
I've got them all written down to watch.
Inside Out 2 comes out in June as well.
June 4th, I think, like next
14th.
weekend.
Yeah.
Or no, it can't be the 4th.
It's the 14th.
14th?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks. What was the Queen Charlotte one? I can't remember who's in that.
I'm not sure.
Oh, Queen Charlotte's the okay. It's a spinoff of or it's the Bridgerton stuff. Okay. Actually, I think I remember that now. I think actually you guys were talking about it once.
There was I saw a ad for something that's coming streaming, and I was really excited about it, and I can't remember what it was. That's what I was trying to find.
What is it?
I can't remember. I want to say it was.
What's it about? Who's in it?
I can see her face, but I can't think of her name. It was very suspenseful and slightly horror, which is not something I normally watch, but it looked very intriguing. A Quiet Place, the prequel is coming out this month too.
Is John Krasinski back in that one? Or no, this is what started it all with all the people.
Day one. Yeah. Yeah. Can't remember. And it's not showing here. I'll have to look that one up after a while. There was something coming out that I was really excited. Thought it was going to look really good.
Is Argyle streaming yet?
Yes, Argyle is on Apple TV.
Okay, I gotta go watch it then because I just canceled Apple today. I have not watched it in months, so I went to get rid of it. I got a few more days though. So. Oh, and The Beekeeper. I need to watch that one. I haven't seen
The Beekeeper looked good.
It's one I wanted to go to theaters and watch and never did.
There's one on, I missed it, Steve, but There's one I found on Amazon Prime that I watched the trailer for the other day, and I really want to watch it. It's Wrath of Man, starring Jason
Oh,
Statham.
that's a fantastic movie.
It looked great.
So it's one of the very first movies I saw when we came back from COVID. I watched the one with Russell Crowe, which was Unhinged.
Unhinged. Yeah.
I watched Wrath of Man, and I watched Tenet. Those are the first 3 movies I saw. I think it was those 3. But Wrath of Man was fantastic. Very good story to that one, and very good action.
It's available on Prime right now. I watched the trailer for it the other night.
That's got Scott Eastwood in it too, I believe.
I think
Clint Eastwood's boy. It's really, really good.
There's a new season of Outer Range on Prime as well. That's one that I've always thought looked really interesting.
Is that the Timothy Oliphant thing?
No, that's the Josh Brolin, where he's out on like a ranch
and he puts his hand down in the black hole or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw that's what I'm thinking of. I thought for some reason it was Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any of the other seasons?
No, I wanted to start that.
Yeah, I don't know what. It looks weird. Outer Banks. I want to see the next season of that.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's coming out.
So several new things coming, and I think The Boys is coming back.
Yep.
If you're a fan of The Boys, so we've got a teaser trailer for that, so that's coming soon. So,
see, season 4 just says 2024. It doesn't say when.
Yeah.
Not officially, anyways.
So. And of course, Deadpool Wolverine comes out soon as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else do we got here?
There was another trailer released for The Acolyte, the new Star Wars.
Yep, that comes out next week.
Soon. Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be tricky. Oh, I got him.
Ah.
Mine was a baby spider. Not like that. June 4th. Yeah, so that one's 1, 2. That's a week from today.
Yep.
Does the whole season drop at the same time?
I do not think so. Weekly.
Okay.
Yep. 1 episode a week. The Boys returns June the 13th. House of the Dragon, June the 16th.
House of Dragons that soon?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Fly Me to the Moon is coming to Apple TV July the 10th.
That's for Sinatra.
Nope, that is the Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson movie.
Oh, is that M. Night Shyamalan?
No.
What's the one that Channing's in that's M. Night Shyamalan coming up? Or it's not Channing Tatum. It's
No, that I had forgot about that movie. That one looks so good.
It's not The Watchers, is it?
No.
You know which one I'm talking about, though? You told me about it.
I watched the trailer for it. It is
was it Josh Hartnett?
I think it is. It's Trap. Oh. That is
Josh Hartnett.
Yes, Josh Hartnett stars in that one. And it's about he takes his daughter to like a Taylor Swift type concert, and the cops surround the building, lock everybody in because they got word that a serial killer was gonna
Oh, that's right. I remember now, and it's well, the trailer gives it away. It's him.
Yeah, it's him
at the stadium. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's super. Yeah, that looks good. It's called Trap, right?
Trap. Yep.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
Did you see? I think it's called The Watcher. Is another one, but it's not just from M. Night Shyamalan. It's from his daughter, maybe.
Really, I saw the picture for that one a minute ago, and I wondered about it. Then, welcome in and Alyssa Neal. Hello.
It's like let me see what it was. M. Night Shyamalan.
The Watchers.
The Watchers.
Yep. And that is his daughter, apparently.
Yeah, so she directs
Shauna Night Shyamalan.
It's Shauna Shyamalan. Actually, it's not him at all. He's not listed as the writer or the director.
Yep. It's his daughter.
He might be. Yeah, I wonder if he's in it though. Because he comes up. Wait a minute. He's got to be on there because he came up when it's under his credits. Oh, he produced it. He's the producer. She's the director and writer. Interesting.
A young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night.
I believe there's a trailer. I think I saw it. Yeah, I think I saw the trailer.
Starring Dakota Fanning. So, that looks good.
Did you ever watch Wayward Pines?
No.
Absolutely love that show. It only lasted 2 seasons. I didn't realize it was him that did it too.
Really? Yeah. They released a new synopsis the other day for Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it sounded as if it was written by Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because he starts getting into what all is happening in the movie in rather detail. And then by the end, he gets very frustrated and says, "OF, nobody reads synopsis anyway."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. I gotta make sure I'm not being charged twice. I got 2 magazines, the same magazine from I subscribe to WDW magazine.
Yeah.
And it just renewed. So I don't know if this was like considered one is my last issue from the last one and one is my first issue. So I got to keep an eye and make sure they didn't.
Corby Sinclair, have a good night. Hope you have a good Wednesday. Neil says it was another hot one at Epcot. It was warm here today too. And I heard there were some bad storms moving through Texas today.
There's bad storms all over the country.
All over the place.
We had the smallest, tiniest little dot, and it dropped so much rain on top of us today.
Really?
At least where I was at. You know, when you're sitting there and it's a 14% chance of rain, and then you got downpours like crazy.
Yeah.
For like 3 hours.
Dallas had got hit pretty bad.
Again?
Yeah. So.
Well, that ain't good. We're going to set a near record high tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's tomorrow. Let's see here.
It's currently 68 here. Tomorrow we're supposed to be 82.
Tomorrow's temperature may be near the record for high temperature. The record high is 97 in 2019. The average is 89. We are set to be at 96. 1 degree off.
There's our temperatures for the next few days.
Oh, man, this
82,
is nice
79,
weather at
81.
night.
Yeah.
Let's see what our 14-day is.
Now that's on my iPhone, so those numbers can fluctuate wildly from day to day sometimes.
96, 94, 94, 88, 89, 89, 91, 91, 91.
Neil said we're melting here.
Yeah.
Well, 96 tomorrow for my area of northeast Florida. It's crazy to me to think, though, Steve, that what is it next weekend? Into this weekend, we're into June. We're halfway through the year.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It goes so fast.
Yeah. Christmas is less than 7 months away now. It's just crazy. So, yeah. Well, I think we're going to call it a night tonight.
Yeah, why not?
I thought we might chill, but I hadn't felt great today, so I think we're going to call it early tonight. Tomorrow night you got Tina at 5 o'clock, maybe. Joy at 8 o'clock. And then this and that tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Is that thumbnail up yet?
It's not. I got to switch over and put it up, but it's a good
really
one.
Good thumbnail.
I mean, I can show you if you want to see it, or you can be in secrecy and waiting. I don't care. You want to see it?
Yes.
All right.
The edited version.
Yes, I got the edited version. I got to open it first. Let's see. There it is. And here it is. And right there. Yep. We're good.
Zen says Halloween is like 2 weeks away. It feels like it.
It is for Disney.
It is for Disney, probably. There you go.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking. That's what it is. So
I like it. It made me laugh.
It just says this.
Yes.
We're all a bunch of astronauts in this tiny little world. So
yeah. Well, hope everybody has a good night. So yeah, this and that tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Be sure to check out Fellas. And then after them, Pete will be live. Doing something for somebody. I don't know if he said exactly yet or not, but yeah. So Stacy wants to know, is Shep in charge? If so, the thumbnail makes perfect sense.
Shep is never in charge unless I'm gone. No. Or like gone from the house.
Hope everybody has a good night. Have a good Wednesday. Welcome to Hump Day. Happy early birthday to Monterey Molly. And
another hour-ish
in 19 minutes. So hope y'all have a good night. Take care and a great Wednesday. We'll see you back here maybe Thursday night after Corey and Jeff. We'll see. Love you all. Take care. See you soon. Bye. Toodles.